And I'm gonna go set it up in a corner somewhere, just so we can get as much of the room as we possibly can.
Sure.
I don't think so. I think we're pretty good. Mhm. Thank you. And you can shut that down. You can shut that down. Shut that down. Shut that down.
Stream via Zoom. Next on the agenda, administrators report. Stream via Zoom.
Good evening. The first thing I wanted to do tonight is introduce James working with our new finance director, who also has a little IT background, so to have some extra help in the other thing that I want to do is acknowledge Jeff Kernan, our city planner, this is our last time with him tonight. He will be leaving on Friday, and moving to California. So, to acknowledge his service to the city, thank him for his service Friday, and moving to we are going to temporarily work with LTOG as we sit back for a little bit and look at what we really need in our looking out for the projects, street projects, water projects, and some development in residential and businesses. So we want to take a good look at what is it that we truly need out of a planner and take our time. And in the meantime, we have some great partners to support us.
Have you recommended anything we need to do?
Well, yeah, Ann and I have had several conversations about what to do next. I think it would be a hasty decision to just try to replace and, because you need to. So, yeah, I think what she just said is a very good summary of what is to come in the next 6 months, I'd say.
Sure, she was quite big.
You don't plan the job you're going to?
Yeah, I will not be a city planner anymore. I will be doing some planning. I'll be working for the El Dorado Hills Community Services District. And El Dorado Hills is a unincorporated area of El Dorado County, just east of Sacramento, actually just east of Folsom, which is where I'm moving to. It's a community services district. Well, at this point, there's a lot of different community services districts. It's kind of like a parks district with a lot of other responsibilities. And since it's an unincorporated area, districts and fire, all those things that sort of share what a city would do, kind of cobble it all together without being incorporated, right? The area has 45,000 population, so a lot of services are needed. So telecommunications and trash and stuff is part of what they do. So I'll be doing project management and planning and parks planning and yeah.
You taking your little camper with you?
No, I don't have that anymore. So
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah.
You did?
I miss it right about now, though.
I should have, wish I'd known you then.
Miss it right
Extra.
Sold it right before the quarantine time.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a nice time to not sell it.
That's true.
Whatever.
first of all, sure didn't mean to chase jump off in my first week and a half here. That wasn't the goal.
Good job.
So I worked at the city of Harrisburg for a little over 16 years. So if you have personal questions, I could probably give you more specific answers. Super excited to be here. I love small communities, and you guys are building stuff. I like get involved in developing. One of the most attractive things was your leadership style and the feel of teamwork that I felt with the staff that's in place. I just hope I can add to that and make it stronger. I'm excited to serve City Forward. Welcome, thank you for having me.
You're glad to hear. I'm
So
sure
much.
mine is too.
And you're right, it is a team. I think it's a family more than anything else.
Yeah, it's definitely, after a week and a half, I know we made a great decision. Excited to be here.
So at the city, right now, our projects are moving forward. We felt like we were a little stalled for several months, but things are definitely moving forward now. We're getting some momentum. The well purchase, we did make a formal offer to the property owner. That offer has actually been accepted. And the council would have been able to look at that and then vote to make a decision to move forward. That will happen in the next couple of weeks, but that's pretty exciting. The I-5 is out to bid right now, and we'll close in August. And so then we will get that project going. The Roberts Road project, the contract for it is in this packet, and so we will be moving forward with that. And I'm sure all of you have seen Johnny Diamond Park taking place. It's just really starting to look pretty exciting. And I know the kids are excited to get in there and play.
Chomping at the bit, I bet.
Yes, we finally got our interpretive signs for Wetland Park. That was like, I don't know, that was someone's full career to put those together for us. Sorry. But we do have them and they're absolutely beautiful, and Public Works came and installed them immediately, so that we could seek reimbursement for the park, because we couldn't send in our reimbursement until the signs are installed completely. So we can now do that. So lots of different and fun projects moving forward, which is good for the staff. We're focusing on something other than COVID-19, which is a nice refreshing thing. Not that there isn't some of that going on, but we understand it's going to be our norm for a while, so we're just kind of falling in and getting used to it. I can answer any questions that you have regarding the city administrator's report or any of the department reports. Or anything.
On the noise complaint that we heard at the last council, you talked about it here. Persons attending council, are they happy with progress?
I emailed them yesterday to ask if they felt like the noise was being reduced. I heard from one person who said no, he didn't think so. But I just received that, so I really haven't had a chance to fully review it. I can invite Chief to share, because he has been also doing his part as the chief to work with the industrial district and especially with business owners to make sure that they are making progress.
So Ann and I met with Guy, the manager of Current Trailers, and Steve Lee. Figured out what we thought was the problem was the driveway in between Pacific Headwear and Current Trailers. It's kind of like an echo chamber between the two buildings. So Current Trailers has done a tremendous amount of work. They moved a dumpster from the back that they dumped other metal scrap into. I think was a very loud bang that they were complaining about. They moved it completely around to the front of the building. They restructured where the metal was in the back, moved it all to the north end of the plant. Down the alleyway, there's a fence that divides the two properties. So where you drive through, they put in $24,000 for styrofoam blocks They put it across from their building to the chain link fence, 16 feet tall, all the way across, and then they are starting to put it lengthwise going northbound in the alleyway. So what that does, and a little bit of research that I've done, and Steve Lee confirmed it with his noise guy, I'm assuming you call him. But if you stop the noise right at the source, so closer to the source, you stop the noise. So if you have a line of sight, that's where the noise goes. So they blocked that line of sight with a lot of that those styrofoam blocks. So it should make a tremendous difference. They've also retrained the crew to make sure the doors are shut during those hours, after hours, normal business hours. So they've done a tremendous amount of work. They moved all the tires, I mean, stacks and stacks of tires back alongside that cyclone fence, also trying to put in another barrier. So they put a lot of time and effort immediately, like in a week or two, they did most of that work. So they put forth tremendous effort. I guess we'll just have to see what the end result is.
Any other questions for the city administrator?
I do have one question, maybe you can share. So I see the blocks in the picture. How come they're not at the full height of the building?
The building,
Yeah.
the
because
building is like 30
It
feet
looks like,
tall.
it looks like it's probably 10, 12 feet from the roof. So, because we still do hear it, but not as often. And I'm curious if that echoing off the top part of the building is kind of negating the blocks being there.
According to the noise guy, it's just like a line of sight that it's a banging sound here and you know, it's
Yeah.
like the cement wall along the bell line. I mean, it's completely blocked visually.
And when
So we get blocks. And also in the research I did is that it, you know, you can use bushes and trees and stuff, and a lot of times they kind of incorporate that into that.
Yeah.
And some of the residents that back up to the water tower, they've cut a lot of those bushes back there. So I don't know if that's contributing to the noise getting
Yeah.
through, but it's a lot more open than what I remember last year at this time.
and it's a lot better. When did they put those blocks in?
I think within a week or two.
Okay.
About 10 days
About
ago.
2 weeks.
Yeah, because about 2 weeks ago, it was shatteringly loud, but it was a lot less than usual. You could tell they were just dumping metal. And then I think it was about 9 o'clock or so, and that was it. And then it ended. And I haven't heard it since, so maybe that's when they put blocks.
So the dumpster is completely at the northeast corner of their property. They put it right up next to the building,
Yeah.
completely the opposite end of where it was.
Yeah,
Because we think that when you would dump, you know, if you got a forkload full of metal and you're dumping it into an empty metal dumpster, that's pretty loud, I'm sure.
sure. Well, we'll see, right? It's
Yeah,
great that they've done that.
The other thing that they've done is they are doing is installing cameras so the manager can monitor the business during the hours that he's not on the site.
That's good.
The other piece is they have Wardry sound equipment that will monitor the residents of the sound. So they are trying.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
have committed to trying. And so, we'll just see where it goes.
Nancy, Brian had a question.
This is gonna be kind of an odd question, but can you hear the metal banging in the mornings? Okay, so just so everyone knows, that's not coming from Carry On Trailer. That's coming from Rears. And Rears is crushing, they have this giant crusher. You might know this, Ron. They have this giant crusher and they cram whatever they can fit into it and it pulverizes everything. So it's pulverizing with pallets and metal, anything, and it just, and the only reason I know this is our shop, now that during COVID, the crew meets in the shop with the door open in the summertime. And boy, I tell you what, you want to talk about loud, that's loud,
It's loud.
very loud. So I don't know if that's part of
I
it.
thought it was them, I didn't know. It was
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, it's a different company. Just so everyone knows.
follow-up question then, do we need to talk to them about noise abatement also?
Larry and I have not talked about this, because the guys and I were just talking about it, yesterday morning.
So a year and a half ago, I met with Rears and their ups, and they have done tremendous work, redid cement walls and everything in that plant. I didn't know anything about the crusher, so I think the crusher is new. So I haven't talked to them since that time. I don't know how long we've had it, but yeah, so that might be a new aspect that came into the picture, but we talked to Rears about a year and a half ago. I met with them. And it didn't seem to be a problem. We've only had one resident, that I think actually is out in the county, that has complained about Rears.
Yeah, when the crew and I are sitting there 6:15, anywhere between 6:15 and 7,
Well, they
it's
might,
hard to get a word in.
I think what it is, they've got a machine and it's got little, I call it shot, metal shot.
Uh-huh.
They could put small, parts in this machine and it tumbles them with this shot inside, and it kind of like sandblasts.
Oh,
the material, so it's sitting there tumbling. Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, because if you
Okay.
notice, it's a consistent. sound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, very.
Yeah,
We thought it was a pulverizer.
Yeah, no, I think it's, I've heard it when I've gone around behind the
Okay.
building there.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it's the same sound over
Yeah.
and over.
Yeah. Exactly.
So is that something that we need to follow up with them? I mean, you're hearing it.
Well, they can start working.
Lincoln,
I think probably like me, everyone thinks it's coming from over there.
You can, Larry, if you want to send somebody out for planning.
Well, I think we should just let a little bit of time pass to see if Carry On has actually fixed the problem, then it's resolved. If not, then we'll have to relook at that and maybe talk to Rears and see when they're running that machine and how often and all that kind of stuff.
okay, thank you.
But I know a couple of years ago, or maybe even before that, Rears did a massive change and addition to deafen the sound of their plant. That was years ago. They hired a study and all kinds of stuff. So that might be, I just don't know.
And of course, they would know unless we tell them that
Right.
this new piece of equipment is creating some noise issues, if in fact it is that. And I hear what you're saying.
And my interaction with the business or the industrial complex, they've been more than helpful in trying to bend over backwards to make it work for everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so we're on to ordinances and resolutions.
Okay, I'm gonna report from here tonight, just, because of the sound.
And sorry, we're gonna do the public hearing and then have your staff report,
Okay,
so
Okay.
that's how she's got it scripted out.
Okay, all right. So at 8:21 PM, I will open the public hearing and hold the first reading on ordinance A 111-D, an ordinance granting an exclusive franchise to Coburg Sanitary Service to collect garbage, trash, yard debris, and other refuse within the city limits, providing for the term of the franchise, providing for payments to the city for franchise, repealing ordinances A-111, A-111-A, A-111-B, now it's getting dry, sorry. A-111-C, and declaring an emergency to exist. Call Ann for our staff report.
so we did provide some information for you last month. And we did hear from Coburg Sanitary Services on the phone last month. This is a partnership that's been in place for 40 years with this company. It's multi-generational. The franchise has been renewed several times, and this was a complicated rewrite. Sammy did an amazing job. This was a lot of work. Because we had to go back and repeal, everybody just kind of band-aided it, moving forward. we need to go back and really rewrite it. So we are a little bit late in this, and we apologize for that. The Covert Cemetery is seeking another 10-year franchise agreement. The increase in the franchise fee will double to $2,000 per year. They actually provide much more service than that to the city, and I think that is really important that they do provide garbage service to the city, to the sewer plant, to our community events. So I think pretty much when people need it, they are there to help out with what community needs. They also are responding to the request to implement a yard debris program. And so, the franchise is, the ordinance is ready to be looked at, and franchise is ready for the council to vote on. You can answer any questions.
Why are we doubling? Why is it doubling?
Well, it is a 10-year franchise, so I kind of figure by the time the 10 years is up, it probably won't seem so bad for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways it's generous.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
Well, I just growth. Well, there is growth in Coburg, and so it kind of works for us a little better now than it did the last time. So,
And your program for yard waste, is that gonna be unveiled at one point?
yeah, that's actually, our, goal is May 1st of next year. And kind of, that'll be kind of main start of the yard work and stuff. So that gives us time to order our equipment. We're gonna buy a lot of roll carts and have another truck and what have you in place and ready to go. So,
Is that gonna replace the stuff that you guys are doing as far as all the leaves and stuff?
Well, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that.
yeah.
What about leaves?
Well, they can put these in the cart, but when there's some people
Nice
have
if
big
they did.
trees, please say yes.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
I don't think they're getting paid correctly on that one.
Yeah. So some of the big maple trees will hold more than that little
That's
64
true.
gallon.
It'll definitely help with our
That
situation.
was a loose end. Good. That's all I have.
Just grind those leaves up and use them for compost.
I do, yeah, we do.
That'll be nice to have done. Any other questions? Any public testimony?
No.
Public testimony? So I guess we can close this hearing at 8:26.
I have one.
Okay. So.
You want me to explain it a little bit?
Yes,
So-
because I'm going.
And
okay,
probably
okay.
let Ann, there's one amendment that needs to be, there's a date wrong in the actual ordinance. But because there's two different things happening, we are stocking it with an emergency clause so that, and we are also waiving it and not having two readings of it, which the charters require that the council votes on that unanimously. So really, this one ordinance, you guys are doing three different things. You just held your public hearing, you're gonna waive your second reading, and then you're gonna decide if you're gonna adopt it or not.
So at this point, I'll entertain a motion to waive the second reading of ordinance A-111-D, an ordinance granting exclusive franchise to Covert Sanitary Services to collect garbage, trash, yard debris, and other refuse within the city limits, providing for the term of the franchise and providing for payments to the city, repealing all of the previous ordinances and declaring an emergency to exist. Is there any discussion?
I have one change in the ordinance if on the last page of the ordinance.
No, and, they're just waiting the second reading.
Oh, we're waiting, okay.
That's okay.
So, discussion, I will entertain a motion to do all of the above things. To waive the second reading on ordinance A -111D.
Move to waive the second reading of ordinance A-11-D.
Okay, there's, there's a motion by Counselor Blaine and a second by Counselor Alexander to waive the second reading on ordinance A-11D. All those in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none. We have, then they announce the outcome, so we have passed on the second reading. The motion is passed to waive the second reading of ordinance A-11D. 1113. Okay, 3D. Now I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance A-111D, an ordinance granting an exclusive franchise to Coburg Sanitary Service to collect garbage, trash, yard debris, and other refuse within the city limits, providing for the term of the franchise, providing for payments to the city for franchise, repealing ordinances A-111, A-111-A, A-1111-B, A-111-C, and declaring an emergency to exist. Is there anything that staff would like to add?
On the last page of the ordinance, the signature page in section 26, halfway down, where it says ordinance A-111 renewing the franchise enacted August 14th, 2020. That needs to read August 14th, 1990.
And then I was gonna ask Ann Davies, does it need to be adopted now as amended, or can that be considered a signature?
I would just go ahead and do it as amended.
Thank you.
Any other discussion or debate? Then I'll entertain a motion to adopt ordinance A-1111-D, an ordinance granting exclusive franchise. I'm not gonna read
You don't
all
have
this
to,
again.
yeah. No, as amended.
Would anyone like to put forth a motion? John, I think it must be your turn.
I move to approve the ordinance granting exclusive franchise rights to Coburg Sanitary Service. Repealing ordinances A-111, A-111-A, A-111B, A-111C, and declaring an emergency to exist. The ordinance as amended.
Is there a second? Okay. We have a motion to declare an emergency. By Councilor Lehman, seconded by Councilor Blaine. All those in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none. The motion passes. Thank you. Thank you. Now, we'll have our next resolution. Are we ready to go on to that? Yep. Yep, okay. So we have, and thank you so much for coming tonight.
thank
And
you.
thank you for your service. I love your service.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wonderful.
We love hearing that.
Best we
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
had.
Thank you.
Can you guys just swing by
Oh,
tomorrow?
Yeah, I can swing by and sign it. Thank you.
Okay, we have then, resolution 2020-16, a resolution raising the wastewater rate service fees and providing for rate adjustments and rescinding resolution 2017-04. So at 8:33, I will open the public hearing on resolution 2020-16, a resolution raising the wastewater rate service fees and providing for rate adjustments and resolution 2017-4. And staff report?
So tonight we heard from FCS and that was great information. I can't give you better information that he did give you. The city has a tradition over the last 5 years since I've been here of looking at a 20-year model annually. And we have continued to do that. And things can change dramatically annually, as we found in 16 when we were able to drop the rates because there was a great recovery in the urban renewal district and other factors that helped with the revenue projections. So with this new youth sewer analysis, there is a recommendation to raise the rates by $1.70 per month per EDU. And I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have regarding.
I just have more of like a concern, I guess. I mean, I know it's $1.70 isn't a lot necessarily, but given the circumstance we're in, where people are laid off, possibly struggling to find new work, it doesn't seem like a good idea to just throw a rate increase on people right now. I mean, I think I'd be interested to see some of those other models. If we don't do it this year, maybe next year with another kind of increase that. Something like that to give, our citizens an idea of that. We hear them, we understand this increase is most likely going to be a mandatory increase at some level, but maybe it's just something that's not to do. That's just my thought.
I have the same thought. Also on this question on this letter, I kind of answered it, not totally. And it's a valid question. It does make sense to go both ways. She writes, also, as more homes and businesses are built in Coburg, it seems that this should lower and maintain costs and increase them. It's a general thing, but I don't know if it was fully answered this. And I saw a couple different answers. But I could see that she wasn't totally satisfied, and her question was very similar to this. New developers and homeowners should have to cover the cost of extending out the sewer system to their buildings. I don't know if I totally agree with that, but the question does make sense.
Sure, it does. And so as Doug shared, new owners and developers do pay into the system, and that is through the SDCP that are substantial. So Jeff, can you tell us what is the sewer SDCP for a new home?
It's somewhere around $7,300, I think. Remember that right?
It's a substantial, and that is essentially to buy into the existing system, but it's also to provide funds for future infrastructure needs. And so it's a 45-55 split of those SDCPs, with 55% of it actually going to future needs, and 45% can be used towards debt and existing costs of the sewer system. So it doesn't fully cover that. I wasn't here with the initial projections or how they came about, how they were going to pay for the system. But what I do know is the projections for the amount of population at that time were exploited a little bit in numbers, and that had to do with what was handed to, it wasn't that they made the numbers up, it's that that was the state population numbers at the time. And so they were looking at a whole lot more users at that time than there actually is going to be. And so there's a cost to running the sewer system, and whatever happened in the beginning, the reality is we need to cover the debt on service and on the system. And so we can delay raising it. That just means that we have to look at it in February and decide whether or not it's going to be double what we're suggesting right now, which next year might be a better year for taxpayers. And I understand the concern, and absolutely, we're all working through this. But I think that delaying it raises it higher in future years.
Yeah. Speaking of the debt, I may have missed this when Doug was talking about. How long is that projected for that debt to hang there? I know that was a big part of kind of where, 45% or whatever that number is that's going to those debt payments. Is that gonna, in 15 years, all of a sudden drop, and then there can be kind of a leveling of these payments?
Yeah. I want to say it is 35. I believe that it might be greater than that. We have, so on our sewer, we actually have 4 loans at this time. So those end at different times. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it would drop, because at that point, when you get out to there may be other capital.
Right, not necessarily drop, I guess.
But
But
possibly.
that, yeah. that
But yes,
one-
and that's what Doug's talking about, is
Yeah.
it would get to a point where it's not that it's costing more, it's that there's a very real CPI index that is a cost of living that we all experience, and the sewer fund experiences is the same way as the other funds. And so I think when we look at the water fund, what we have going for us in the water fund is we're retiring the debt very soon. Before we take on the new debt, we are retiring the loans. So that's really helping the water. We're not going to retire the sewer loans quite that fast.
Right.
We have many years still to pay on it. So it does make it a little bit more challenging for the sewer system. The timing is.
Yeah.
For
It's
the majority,
unfortunate. Unfortunate. So, one of the things I can share is that we are looking at, the refinance of a couple of the sewer loans. And that could substantially help us, now if there's some good rates. So we do have a financial advisor that is going to start looking at that for us. So we are always looking at ways that we can, decrease the impact to the taxpayers on the sewer system.
I would have that by August first.
Probably not. It will be February, at the time of looking at for annual, before we have some of the answers that we need.
I'm curious, your side.
Well, I was the one that brought the issue that we should raise it, because there is inflation in cost of living, and it is customary for all of us to expect some inflationary increases. And if you don't do it on an annual basis, then you're doubling it the following year or the following year. In many ways, we front-loaded our rate to prepay or pay in advance our total costs over time, as opposed to increasing rates 4, 5, 6% per year. So I think for us to keep those rates flat, $1.70 or $1.40, whatever it is. And then we've got to look down the road too. We're going to look at the top fee too, and that's going to be a difficult decision as well. that, that it's our financial stewardship, if we need to move this forward and have these appropriate small increases now. And we were very generous to the community and the $50,000 that we allocated for businesses and families that were in need. So I think we've been compassionate that way. This is spreading it through the entire community. That's I think appropriate.
And I would agree with John. We did send out the little mini newsletter, and that was what, a month ago?
And we've only gotten one or two other feedback.
Didn't get much back.
The one written
The
testimony.
one written testimony.
And we do have,
The utility billing system,
yes,
and is that being utilized?
We haven't looked at the numbers this year, yet. We'll be implementing it next month. Bill, the application process was closed. To be honest with you, Aaron's managed that part of it. So Ann and I will sit down and process those.
So it's always being utilized to a certain extent.
Sure.
Are we seeing an increase in that? I guess, and that would go back to Councilor Blaine's question of people that are unemployed or underemployed, and how do we address that? And I think that's really another thing. The tough came to my mind too, is we think, well, if we don't do this now, if we kick the can down the road, so to speak, we don't know what's down the road either, unfortunately.
Sometimes what we expect of ourselves is different than what we expect of others. I would right away feel like that, and I would do that tempo in the beginning, much like you're saying, John, but to have some other people do that is more difficult, especially taking into their lives, what it costs to live their lives.
It's just been my experience, and what it's worth, I'll give you my 2 cents, but it's been my experience that if you put off raising rates and say, well, we're gonna see what happens for 2 or 3 years, and then we'll come back with a $5 increase. Folks have a really hard time with that number, right? The lower the number, the easier it is to swallow that bitter pill.
Right.
No one wants to pay a higher.
You're hit with a
rate.
$5 raise, you
Right.
feel that the city's mismanaged their money.
Right.
So now you're gonna
Exactly.
fix it, right?
So when you look at what Doug had said about Sandy, and they're doing a 98% increase. Guys like me kind of look at, when they're going out and looking, going to a different city to do what I do. One of the first things guys like me look at is they look at what the rates are. They look at, is there going to be an uphill battle trying to get operational costs and revenue to marry up, right? That's important. And right now we're doing a really good job. So somebody like me, I feel comfortable, but I would always suggest that little bump every year, the bump. Because if you don't do that bump, 20 years from now, you're going to be increasing it a lot, right?
And that bump compounds.
Yep, it does. It does. So if you like the service, I guess the question is, if you like the service that you're getting now, operationally, do the bump, right? If you want to see things kind of backslide, put things up, right? That's kind of the bottom. I know that it's up. I know it's up. It's a tough decision to make in these times, but if you do that little bump, it will. You won't have to fight so hard in the future.
Yeah. Let's close the public hearing.
Okay, so we're closing the public hearing at 8:47. And at this point, entertain a motion to approve resolution 2020-16A, 16, a resolution raising the wastewater rate service fees, providing for rate adjustments, and rescinding resolution 2017-4. Any further discussion or debate?
I have one simple correction to the date as well, because I don't see one that's gonna come, so our date, need to coincide, so, in number 1 on their actual resolution, beginning on August 1st, 2020.
Still back on target, I'm sorry. I got too many pieces here. All right. Any questions about that?
I move to approve resolution 2020-16, raising wastewater service fees, providing for rate adjustments, and rescinding resolution 2017-04
As amended.
as amended.
Second?
That's like,
We have a motion by Counselor Lehman and a second by Counselor Alexander to approve resolution 2020-16, resolution raising the wastewater rate service fee and providing for rate adjustments and rescinding resolution 2017-4. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passed unanimously. Okay, next up, we have
are we
the
not going up there?
contract with Eugene Sand and Construction for pavement repair on Roberts Road.
Good evening. Is this on?
I don't think so, but you can switch it on right at your knee.
Got it. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Well, good evening. We finally get to do some road projects. This is great. This is great news. This is just a formality. You guys see this quite a bit when we put something out to bid and we select a contractor. So if you guys want, I can go through the background. But this little piece of Roberts Road is on the section, if you're familiar with South Industrial Way, where it goes by McDonald's and comes around and tees up on Roberts Road, it would be the north part of the road back to the McDonald's driveway on the northeast side of that property. It's not very long, but it is a total reconstruction. So the giant pothole that's just to the south of that east side driveway will be repaired.
Is that what prioritized it?
Yes, yeah. The failure,
People get even lost in.
yeah.
I mean, we have some pretty big ones, but that one.
Yeah, this one can get up to about 8 to 10 inches long.
I think it's important to note as well as the funding for this grant is very specific as to what it can be used for. You can't just pick a street in the city and say we want to fix that. The project has to align with the grant. And so,
Over the course of the years, the small city allotment grant has increased in funds. So, 10 years ago it was 25,000. Now it's $100,000. So 25,000 doesn't go very far. $100,000 these days doesn't go very far. But this is what it's getting. It's getting us some engineering and some new surface. This much.
Do we get the whole 100,000 and use the remainder for something else, or is it just?
no, it's a
yeah.
reimbursement for the project.
Yep, tied to the project. So a little bidder was Eugene Sand, and their bid was $80,439.80. It's actually a little bit lower than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a little bit higher, but we had some good competitive bids.
So I'm assuming this will shut the road down, that
Yes.
section.
Yes, for, I wouldn't say more than a couple days. One of the things that we'll talk to Eugene Sand about is how they approach it. We'll get their traffic control plan, in the next few days, so we can review. And then, at the pre-construction meeting, we'll talk about, the possibility of doing it at night, operation, so we don't shut anybody down.
All the businesses have been told.
Yeah. There's really only two businesses that will conflict, and that's GCR and no, it's
RV Outpost.
RV Outpost. I couldn't remember, it's changed the name.
Yeah.
RV Outpost. Does anybody else have any questions?
So what was the cost to the city and what's the grant?
The grant amount was $100,000. We've spent some on engineering, so it's actually going to come out probably as a wash. Yep.
Good job. Any other questions? If not, any discussion or debate? I saw that as a no, so I will entertain a motion.
Move to adopt the Roberts Road SCA Grant Pavement Repair Project contract between the City of Taylor and Eugene Sand Construction.
Second,
Second.
trustee John? Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you,
The
everyone.
motion is passed as presented. Thank you very much. Jeff, staff report from Jeff on agreement with State of Oregon and ODOT.
Yep. Another fun project.
I think it's fun.
Yes, it's vital, actually. This is a project that we received federal funding for a couple of years ago in the regional transportation grant pool. And the state has a program to swap funds. Basically, it's a bit more complicated than that, I'm sure, but that's what they call it. So, to where it's projects can gain some efficiency and flexibility when you don't have to do it federally. And so this particular project, which is a sidewalk infill, basically spans the Countryside Fellowship Church from the corner to where there's sidewalk, which is near the Hatfield subdivision. 320 feet, I think, is the point, roughly. And so this will be, instead of it being federalized, we sent an agreement with our Department of Transportation, and we have control over it too. So we can do whatever we want with it instead of following the federal rules to have certified builder and manager. So we're going to use our own engineering services. They're going to help us bid out the project. And the only thing is it's capped at the money that it was allotted at. So the budget is in there that was scoped at $44,578.18. We can receive up to $40,000. And if it goes beyond that, then we are responsible for more than that gap, whatever it goes. So we have more control.
And the Public Works can do part of the work. So if we want to take on the whole project, we can take on the whole project. If we want to form the forms and have somebody do the flat work, we can do that as well. So,
yes.
Or, do a lot of the dirt work.
Right, and that's the advantage of having this program, is we can control it, be nimble as much as we need to. And, yeah, and we have several years to complete it too, so we don't have to rush through it.
So there's no specific timeline on this?
I think it's 4 years suspended or something like that, but it was so long that it kind of forgot when that was. Yeah, we're gonna do it in the next year anyway, so.
So if you think about, we could section that off and say, we're gonna do, Public Works can do, 4 panels of concrete every year until we get,
Yeah.
to the end, right? So if you think about it that way, it would be beneficial for us to do.
Well, my grandkids will have to keep riding their scooters through that parking lot. Good job, guys.
I think it needs to be noted that, so we didn't plan for this, because normally
No.
on these regional grants, we don't even get into the PPP, other than we make a match donation or a match payment, and the bills are paid elsewhere. This brings it in-house, so we have to pay the bills, so budget-wise, we will have to decide when this is gonna get done, if it's gonna get done in 21, then we will have to adjust the budget. If we put it off for 22, we can just build it into the budget. So, it's just a matter of when we want to get it done.
Anything else?
I'm just trying to get visual of the sidewalk.
Oh, here.
Right, it's over there, okay.
Yeah,
So if you
where
go,
the red line is.
yeah. So it would connect the existing bike paths.
The sidewalk that was built with the Hatfield subdivision, ended at a certain point right there behind somebody's backyard, right? And then the edge of the bike path corner,
Yeah,
300 to 320 feet.
So that makes it much safer.
yeah.
Yes.
Kids going to school, it makes it safer for kids biking, walkers. et
Okay,
cetera.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, so, okay, any other questions?
Kind of a related question, but not specific to the sidewalk. When you come up and go left instead of right, where the 6-foot fence is built behind the houses there,
Hatfield?
yeah, isn't there a setback from visually the street, the height of the fence, so you see down the street?
Yes, so they do meet the setbacks, the Lane County setback. Then that would be.
And already too,
Yeah.
I think it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been investigated several times, actually.
It is kind of a blind area.
It is.
Does it, that it meets it doesn't mean it doesn't feel unsafe. Just to be clear, yes, it does meet it, but it does feel that there's a block.
So it
There's
does
a reason
meet-
why,
Yes,
there's a reason why we didn't plant trees in that grassy strip right there closer to the intersection because of that, that line of sight.
Anything else? Entertain a motion?
I move to approve the city to enter into a local agency agreement with Oregon Department of Transportation or DOT for the purpose of delivering the capital sidewalk infill project. Second.
We have a motion and a second. A motion by Councilor Alexander, a second by Councilor Blaine, to enter into the local agency agreement with ODOT for the purpose of delivering capital sidewalk infill project. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion will passes. So we have administrative information reports. Is there anything, any questions about any of those? We've all read the citizen inquiry, oh, well, maybe not here, getting ahead of myself. So what do we have out there? Is there anything? anybody
It's
has a question?
mostly having to do with the noise complaint, there's a few others, but mostly it's the noise
Okay,
that we haven't been able to close because we're still working through the issue.
we had a fair amount of discussion about that already.
There's a couple of things I think, I mean, yeah, it's primarily the noise.
in place to help keep those alleys clear?
I'm gonna let Brian address that.
I'm sorry, do
Do
you,
you have like something in place to keep those alleys clear or help keep those alleys clear?
well, alleys are kind of complaint driven. The alley behind your place is that's gonna be a tough one for us to get back
Yeah,
to.
that's a
because
tough.
there's no access for us to do much. But it's kind of complaint driven. We just cleaned one up between Dixon and Maple,
That's this one on the letter.
I believe. Is that,
I don't know that the person is in there.
I think
It's in this list.
it's not on this list. I didn't see it.
But it is the
No,
letter.
I think it came in
I
after
think it is
July.
the letter. I think it's Shirley's letter.
Yes, surely.
Yeah.
We went over there and cleaned that one up, this week.
Oh. That is Shirley's response. Her complaint was after July, so you'll see about it next month. They've already handled it, and that's her thank you.
Do we need access to those alleys? What are the alleys for?
That's a great question. I guess this is the great debate here. There's a lot of alleys. And I think the fire department likes to have, be able to access those alleys.
Which is why I'm wondering, why it's a complaint driven thing, because far from the fire department.
Yeah, and I don't know if the fire department can't get down alleys, we don't.
So they're so narrow, like how some of those trucks get down.
Yeah. So the reason why it's complaint driven is because, we don't have enough manpower to necessarily spend a lot of time in the alleys. We spend a whole lot of time in the right of ways, trying to keep the right of ways clean. And a lot of the bioswales, we spend a lot of time mowing them. And if we spent all of our other time in the alleys, well, we just wouldn't get anything done. So that's why it's complaint. I know that doesn't make people feel any better, but that is the case.
All I'm concerned about is the liability of something being stored in those that could be flammable, dangerous to a kid,
Right.
animal, whatever.
If you do see that, then definitely give us a call. We are gonna put something out. We took a bunch of pictures and hopefully we're gonna do a little educational piece. Cause cleaning up these areas actually helps on our TMDL. We've talked about the TMDL before and our matrix. So, we can check that off, or we can check that box on our TMDL list, right? So education, people dumping, disposing of, chemicals and things like that. So we talked to the picture, and you guys are gonna see that in the next week or so, probably on social media, and maybe in the next newsletter.
What's the MDL?
Total maximum daily load.
Thank you.
Say it again.
Total maximum daily load. It's the water.
Water quality.
Water quality.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Not just water quality, but air
I'm
quality
thinking
too.
trucks.
Yeah.
That sounds very-
It's environmentally based,
Oh.
so it's air quality, water quality. We don't want to be dumping chemicals into our waterways.
Anything else? Tammy, anything else on the citizen quarterly reports? Chief Larson, anything on the Lake County dispatch contract amendment?
Yep, we had switched over to the Lane County Dispatch Center, and it's been one of the best decisions we've ever made. For really good service, great relationship with the sheriff, under sheriff. It's just been a great experience so far. And then I want to correct, during the noise conversation, I said that I talked to Rears. I have not talked to Rears. It was Appel who I
I thought that's what.
so I just wanted to correct that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any progress on what you guys were looking for around the streets? The weapon?
No.
On the weapon.
No, but the district attorney, it's a good case and he'll be held criminally
one more question. On the day that people were kind of bringing their things to the police department, how'd that go?
Tremendous community support. It was awesome. The basket was just huge. There was just tremendous support from the community, so that was pretty great.
Good.
Written update? Any questions on that or anything you want?
I wanted to add a little bit on it. I mean, we can make May 31st, it's as of May 31st. A lot can happen in June. So when you're reading the May 31st, it's saying that our city revenues are 49% of budget. And our expenses are 56% of budget. As of today, which I ran numbers just so I could update you, both revenues and expenses are sitting at 62%. Now that is 98% in sewer. So sewer is, we pretty much have we dialed in on what it costs to run the sewer, and what are the revenues that we're gonna gather. The general fund is sitting at about 88%. So it's really the water in the street fund that bring that average down, because there's capital projects in both those funds that we obviously are not gonna get to this year due to just development not happening, the street projects not moving forward like we would have wanted to see. And the water project's definitely been delayed, but it's up and running. So, as of the end of the year, I think we're going to look at, probably 75%, across the board, which I don't think it's gonna be, that's not that bad for the year that we experienced. And I think that, we won't know these two last quarters. We won't know the answer to that for a long time, but I think ending the year, we're gonna be okay. So long as we're keeping our revenues and expenses at a level, no matter if it's 75%, if it's within 3 or 4% of each other, then what we didn't take in, we didn't spend either. And so I think we're going to see a good end to the year, financially for the city. And I just want to share that, because when you're reading the May 31st report, it's looking a little bleak, but in a month, there's revenues came in, and we are starting to see those last bits of revenue, reimbursements, the kickover from the URA to the sewer, all happen in June. And so, just wanted to share that. And so just one more piece on that is, it takes us until August 31st to close the year. So you will receive a finance report in September from Tim on June 30th. So you can look forward to that.
Anything else? Council comments? Everybody's staying safe and healthy and
Are we gonna discuss anything that we'll do as a community when this all starts lightening up and things like that?
There's been lots of discussion with our partners. We're all in agreement that we really need to start thinking about how we celebrated the community and what are the things that we can do. There's actually funding out there for communities to start thinking about these things. At this time, planning is very difficult, because there's a point where it starts costing us money to plan. You have to put deposits down, you have to take in people's money. So vendors who are participating in festivals are putting money down. And there's a point when you have to say, we can't guarantee this event's gonna happen, and therefore we just can't go there. So the general consensus, we did have a meeting with the chamber, So there is some plans for a car show that is not a car show, it's a backwards car show. And that the cars will drive around town and they will not ever congregate anywhere, they will never stop. So there will be a little bit of a car show. The other piece is there is planning in place for the harvest, something for harvest and the scarecrow contest. And I'm really building on that to kind of, in the fall, hopefully get to have something to celebrate.
You should give garden awards, because you know, if you look out on.
Oh my
on the
God.
gardens, you should really do some kind of garden, best garden, most creative, whatever.
Right.
But it'll pull the community together, because everybody's going to Home Depot, and
Right.
everybody's going to garden.
Gardens look great, small gardens look really good.
Yeah.
It's fun to do that.
I will, share that with Megan and the captain.
Different topic, have we heard anything from the charter school and how they're planning to open school?
They will fall under the governor's guidelines, and I don't think that's been established as of yet.
A lot of school districts have already come out and said how they're going to operate.
I was just talking to someone that works in the district in Monroe today, and there is a timeline. I mean, they have to put those plans out within the next few weeks, but the charter school falls under 4J. Yeah. Monroe is talking, and, you know, there are lots of projections out there. Some districts are saying, well, they'll do A, B schedule, so A goes on Monday, B goes on Tuesday. So there'll be 2 days of instruction, physical instruction, and 2 days of virtual instruction, and a day. I mean,
I think that's what Harrisburg is talking about.
is that what they're talking about too? It's, yeah.
I feel bad for people that have
Homeschool
kids.
the blame.
Oh,
Some
That did not
consistency
go well.
would be nice.
no school.
School's tough.
How'd it go for you, Tim?
What's that?
How'd it go for you?
Very difficult. And my son does half and half, so he already does some grad school, goes
Yeah.
to school half the time, so the teachers that are in class aren't necessarily trained to do homeschooling, it's an art and skill.
Oh, yeah,
Specific, very specific.
yeah, how many parents do is not sufficient.
Yeah.
Not sufficient.
Yeah, that's right. My 8-year-old granddaughter wrote a note to her mother teacher. I hate you. You suck as a teacher.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was pretty limited. Yeah, good, great questions. Really appreciate everybody being here and doing all that you do. No meeting in August. So we won't meet in September. Those of us that are going to be running for council again will be out collecting signatures and getting on the date of November 3rd ballot.
And the executive session will let you know.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna try to see if we can do it remote, we don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. After the off in September.
No.
Okay.
When is our retreat?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, when can we see the plan? Oh, it's up.
The wastewater plant?
I've never
Yeah, I
seen it all.
don't think that either.
Oh, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
so,
That's a good question. This COVID thing is kind of throwing everything for a loop. So if you guys want to schedule a time where individually you come out and I can take you through. Normally we do a group, and we can, go through.
I have.
You haven't seen it?
I was
Okay.
supposed to.
So there is a group.
But a group won't work, that's what Brian was saying,
Yeah.
get an individual. Brian's cell phone number is on the contact list that I just sent out.
Yeah.
And it'd probably be best just to contact him directly until COVID is over, because there is a bunch of more
hour or so.
Yeah, about that, and we, you know, we just don't do the sewer plant, we'll hit the wells and the booster station as well.
I will tell you, it gave me a lot more appreciation for what is being done and also what we need to think about in terms of infrastructure. I learned a lot.
Yeah, just give me a call, and we can definitely set something up.
So, if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn this meeting at 9:19. Thank you again. Yes, Jeff, thank you.
See ya.
You have a place to live?
You
want to eat?
Yeah.
For a package?
So,
Council?
I have a question, Sammy. Rather than
Yeah.
bashing on the phone.
All right, guys.
No, I don't, I didn't, yeah, figure. I might as well, we could have made it. Yeah.
It will take you probably. Yeah. Well, this is email. And then you come in, application will take about 15 minutes. We'll go through it.
Oh, no, I can't.
We just can't wait till the last minute.
Yeah. Right, okay.
So how's the work is going?
I've made a little better.
You know what?
But I didn't do that.
You guys sign my, but check out Blue.
Oh, I did.
Oh, this is for two. So I checked it out.
Okay.
Like I said, I may be in December.
No, hey,
Pull it back.
anytime you need
There's
it.
no reason for it to take off.
Yeah. This is really about the only time.
Bye.
No, yeah.
And I do not have jury duty.
I'll have that ready to go soon.
All right.
I've been excused and.
Good job, guys.
Good.
Oh, thank you.
How's
It's not easy.
No, it's.
No, it makes it look
Put it in the
easy.
to be
Yeah.
sanitized bucket.
See you, thank you.
Bye,
All right,
thank
have a good
you.
night. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah, take care.
You too.
So Tim, are you doing finance in Harrisburg?
Yeah.
See you.
See you later.
Yeah, you too. I never get to see you, because I'm just in and out.
Yeah, it actually, I talked to Rafe this tonight at about 6:30 and things were looking up.
Really?
A little bit better. He said it wasn't so grim that,
I gave it out.
you still got a hell of a long road to go to, but
So
It
did
was
they do surgery?
better this morning. I didn't even, yeah. He just said that he had seen it on
Guy
fax,
at
but
80,
he want me to come
90
in
miles
and sit
an hour
down
on the
with him.
freeway at night.
Yeah.
It's cheap, and they said it was-
Oh,
No, he was worried about you not having a quorum.
I apologize, but.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do at night.
Usually I study
90
it
miles
ahead
an
of
hour,
time.
I've never seen fire. So Kevin had like 2 of those in 1 week. So you get it, you know.